James, we're just marveling at how dope of a guy Alvin Gentry must be to have been fired multiple coaches ago, and for the Kings to go, dude, just hang out, bro. We'll keep paying you.
He's the coolest dude in every room.
Everyone.
Absolutely every room. Yeah. He's one of my favorite people to just walk up and chat with. He's a absolute spectacular human being and just a crack up.
Yeah, I'm an Alvin Gentry guy for sure.
Absolutely.
I told you the one time I was sitting courtside talking to Alvin, and he's like, "Hey, I'll be right back." He walks right out on the court and just strikes up a conversation in the middle of Golden One Center with OG Anunoby as the Kings are being rumored to be trading for him. And I'm like, no one in the NBA could just like, hey, hang on a sec, I'll be right back, and just go out and like, hey, trade target, what's up? You know, crazy. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you something though, and I didn't want to lose it. You before we went to break, you said Kyrie Irving's the most underrated player in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the next most underrated? Did you have somebody in mind?
No, it was. I love this show. No, it was meant to lead to a discussion of other underrated players. I had two people in mind. Obviously, Domas is one of them. I don't think that's difficult to figure out. Another player who I do think is underrated is Kevin Durant. I don't think Kevin Durant is discussed in the same conversations as LeBron and Jokic and Embiid and Giannis, and well, Embiid probably going to find his way out of that conversation, but like, I don't think he's regularly referenced as one of the league's absolute best. He's arguably the most unique player this league has seen in the last 2 decades. And I kind of feel like maybe the Golden State stuff, maybe switching teams, I'm not sure, but something like we were talking about with Kyrie, James, because I made the argument that Kyrie is the most underrated player in the league. Maybe there's just some extenuating circumstances that kind of, I don't think anyone doesn't acknowledge that KD's not great. Right. But like, to me, KD is still very much one of the very best players in the league.
I agree. He's still one of the best scorers in the league. I don't know that he does everything still. And that's usually, the skill set narrows as you get older in the league. And so, I mean, still, he's going to go down as like a top 15 player of all time.
Yeah.
But he's not mentioned in the same way that Giannis is. I get what you're saying there. I mean, I also think he gets a really bad rap for joining the Warriors. Because I mean, it's not LeBron just gets off the hook for all that stuff. I mean, that dude left Cleveland, went and joined a super team in Miami for 4 years, left there, went back to Cleveland, won a championship, left there, goes to LA to go chase fame and fortune. I don't know what's different between what he's done and what Durant has done.
It's very simple. Like, it is very simple. If LeBron went to Boston, it would be the same thing. He did not. He went somewhere to go beat Boston. Kevin Durant lost to the Golden State Warriors and went to the Golden State Warriors. He's not any less of a ball player to me, but the situation, it's very specific. When LeBron couldn't beat Boston, if he would have went to Boston, that's what it would have been.
Yeah, but what's the difference between that and just creating a super team in Miami?
You're still trying to beat that team. You're still trying to beat Boston. You're not joining them.
Yeah, but how many finals in a row did they go to in Miami? Like, I mean, you were creating a team that no one could beat. So,
well, in LeBron's defense, he went to 8 straight.
Yeah,
like, he went back to Cleveland and went to 4 more.
He was the finals.
Yeah, LeBron James was LeBron James is a dynasty within himself.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he just doesn't have like the same volume of rings that we've seen from that, like Michael Jordan has. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think that Kevin Durant gets singled out for one act, and it didn't go well in Brooklyn and all that stuff, and who knows what's going to happen where he's at now. But this is like end of the career stuff that we're dealing with at this point. I just think LeBron gets off the hook for doing a very similar act again, like
And neither one of
creating
them,
go ahead.
neither one of them did anything wrong.
No, it's their
They
prerogative.
exercised their right as free agency, and Steph Curry, I'll say it till the end of time, was on the team friendliest deal in the history of franchise sports ever.
Yep.
No exceptions. That's why Kevin Durant was able to sign there. Free agency comes up a year later. KD's never with the Warriors.
Mhm.
It's just timing. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And LeBron James was free agent, gave Cleveland what he had, and left. It's fine. It's perfectly fine.
I think
Changed the league forever by leaving, but
Yeah.
it's perfectly fine.
I think KD is a good underrated player. I think James, you talked about him a little bit too. I think Giannis is extremely underrated out here.
That is kind of funny. Giannis is underrated.
Yeah,
They don't talk about Giannis like he's one of them.
Not at all.
Ones.
Not at all. And he's having another crazy season. The one that I have that I think it's just me and Eddie who feel this way. I do think Trae Young is a little underrated. That doesn't mean he's like the greatest basketball player out there or he doesn't have flaws, but people talk about him like he's a bum. And he's pretty good, man. He's had postseason moments. He's done some things in this league, man. And I just think they talk about him like he hasn't performed on those stages before. So that's one random guy that I think is a little underrated.
I think the guy who probably is the most underrated player in the league. I know you've got Kyrie as your guy.
Mm-hmm.
I know this sounds bizarre. It's Jokic.
Because that sounds ridiculous.
I'm telling you, first of all, he should right now look at his stats. He should win an MVP without any question. His fourth and fifth in 5 years. He should have won the other one that he didn't win that went to Embiid. And not one of us is sitting here considering him a top 10 player all time, a top 15 player, maybe not even a top 50 player of all time. And you guys can disagree with me, but if you were making a list right now, where would you put him? And you're not putting him anywhere near AD. He's got a ring. He's won 3
AD
MVPs.
isn't Anthony Davis?
He might be ahead of
I wouldn't do that.
No, I meant KD.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he might be near. I got KD in the top 10. Jokic is probably pushing towards top 10, but like everybody in that top 10, we talking multiple rings. We talking like 4 or less.
Yeah, but we're talking about a 3-time MVP and very well could be a 4-time MVP who right now is having one of the greatest seasons in the history of the game, averaging 29 points, 12.6 rebounds, 10.4 assists. And he's not even like the odds-on favorite to win the MVP right now because being super, super great and out of shape is just not in vogue.
Who's the odds-on favorite?
Probably
Shea.
Really?
Oh yeah, you go look at any of the betting sites, they've got him as the number one guy.
Shea probably up there. I mean,
the bar for MVP always moves, though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if we're doing this with Jokic, we could do this with LeBron for the first, for years 4 through like 16 with him.
Bro, we can do this with Giannis for like the last 5 years. Giannis's numbers are crazy. He's still one of the best defenders in the game, one of the most versatile defenders in the game. And you want to talk about not talking about him? Like we don't say nothing about Giannis. Nothing. And Jokic, I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be knocking on that top 10. But that top 10, at least my top 10, I can't speak for everybody's top 10.
Oh, we know you're going to throw Larry Bird's ass out of there.
Well, Larry got out because of KD. I put KD in there. But we talking Steph, we talking Kobe, we talking Shaq, we talking Magic, we're talking Wilt, Jordan, LeBron. Like, yeah, Jokic has been great. But when I say these guys have multiple championships, he can't be in there with just one championship. He can't be in the top 10 with just one.
I'm intrigued by Larry losing to KD. I'm just like that. That's interesting to me. I guess the longevity isn't there, but we're talking about a 3-time NBA champion, a 12-time All-Star. And just to be honest, like Larry Bird was Steph. KD wasn't the number one on that team. Steph is the number one on that.
Oh,
Golden
that
State
is
Warriors
not true. That is absolutely not true. Kevin Durant was
Mm.
the best player on that team.
I don't know. That was Steph's team.
Yeah, you could be Steph's team if you wanted to be. He was the best player on that team. And if we're doing accolades, 2-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, 15-time NBA All-Star, 6 first teams, 5 second teams. That's Kevin
Yeah.
Durant's resume.
And he's a better defender than Larry Bird ever was. He's a better scorer. It's a different time, but
It's a different
Larry
time.
Bird was 3-time all defensive team, 10-time All-Star. He only played 12, 13 years because of the back problems. But 2-time Finals MVP, 3-time MVP.
KD never made an all-defensive team.
that's crazy.
Am I saying this right?
He was locking up them 2 years in for sure those 2 years in Golden State.
Well, that's probably
Maybe
why
others.
he's being punished for it.
So, but it's close. It's close. I love Larry Bird. I think Larry Bird is amazing. So it's close. I'm not
Also 4-time gold medalist. Don't sleep on that. That man's won 4 gold medals.
Most accomplished Olympic
Mhm.
basketball player of all time when you talk about KD. But I'm not going to argue with Mel. I'm not going to argue with anybody who has Larry Bird above Kevin Durant because Larry Bird was the truth. Like,
Yeah.
it was the truth. But when the whole point is when you talk about that level, I'm not taking anything away from Jokic, the player, but if he don't win no more championships, how are you getting ahead of any of those guys? We always talk about winning. Like, one ain't gonna get it done. I feel the same way about Giannis. I love Giannis. I said at the end of his career, he's tracking towards being a top 10, but he might have to find another ring or two. All those guys I'm talking about, I think 3. Well, KD's 10, but if you take him out and put Larry Bird in there, 3 is the bottom line. You can't even.
So Giannis can't get in. Luka can't get in.
At some
Top
point,
10 all time is tough. Top 10 all time is tough.
You gotta be.
Luka's all NBA first team like 5 times in a row. Exactly, no one in history has done that.
Well,
I'm gonna say no.
Okay,
I'm gonna say no.
all right.
All those all those guys they can do everything that these guys are talking about, and they won championships, multiple. The bottom line, I think Wilt might have won 2. That might be, or he won 1. That's the one that has like 1 or 2. Everybody else is 3 and above.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't have all the championships because he played in an era with the Boston Celtics team that won every single year.
Everyone except Michael Jordan. No one's ever done it what Luka's done except for Michael Jordan. I was like, wait a minute, how's Michael? Oh, he did.
That's the goal. It's the goal.
Well, LeBron's
2-time NBA champ for Wilt.
Yeah, Wilt only won 2 of them.
Yeah. 4-time MVP, 10-time All NBA, 7-time scoring champ, 13-time All-Star. Also with Larry Bird and like you got to remember that the Team USA was using collegiate players through most of Larry's career, and then they came back for that dream team. So that's why, again, they're not even going to be in the conversation with Olympic golds and stuff. And none of them are even remotely close to what Diana Taurasi did as an Olympiad. It's crazy.
6 is insane.
Yeah.
6 in a team sport is absolutely insane.
Wasn't the story that Bobby Knight kept Larry off of one of them because he didn't go to Indiana or something like that? I thought I heard something like that.
I believe he went to Indiana and then said, I'm done, and left.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the greatest stories that Jerry Reynolds has ever told.
Jerry's not allowed to appear on this radio station anymore. So what's the story?
So I'll just tell it for him. Larry didn't get along with Bobby Knight, and I'm trying to look. Yeah, so he decided not to play. He had left, gone to Indiana, and then came home. And he was at home working on a garbage truck. And Jerry was on his way from, I believe it was a junior college in Georgia to a college in Kansas, something like that. And on the way there, he stopped at home and hung out with his parents for a little bit. And then he said he went and jumped on the back of the garbage truck and worked with Larry Bird for a day or two. and had beers and sat there and, like had a long conversation with him. And he told Jerry at that point, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back to Indiana State and go to school. But, Jerry kept telling him, man, you got to go back. We can't, not be a basketball player. You're going to be one of the greats. And he ends up going to Indiana State and being one of the greats. So thanks to Jerry Reynolds. Jerry Reynolds saved us all.
Jerry Reynolds saved basketball single-handedly.
I'm not pulling excerpts from his book. I'm telling you what Jerry's told me. If that's in his book, that's very possible. But yeah, Jerry Reynolds. I think he told that on the Insiders, filling in one day.
Those were the good old days.
The good old days back in 24.
Wow, this is because I'm looking up different things about Luka, and like LeBron made All NBA like a decade in a row, first team. He has more All NBA first team selections than Steph Curry.
Luka does?
Yeah. More than Dirk, more than Kevin Garnett. Wow.
Yeah, that resume is gonna look crazy.
But no titles.
Oh, he's going to win a whole bunch of awards there in LA. Whether he wins titles or not, we'll see. But yeah, he's going to win all of the All NBA awards and all that stuff from here on out. Exactly. If he can,
yeah, he's not going to be the streak will come to an end this year.
The streak is over.
That's it. Yeah, he won't. Yeah. He can't be an All NBA first team selection this year.
There's a lot of players who are already not eligible. I mean, AD won't be eligible.
Out. Right, Wemby's out, AD's out,
Embiid's out.
No, if John would have made it anyway, but
yeah,
Kawhi's out.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a ton of them already. I think Jimmy Butler's already out. Yeah, like there's a super long list of players who are already out of NBA.
I'd sue if I was Jimmy Butler. I was ready to play.
Yeah,
I wanted to play. They wouldn't let me. Devon Carter not eligible for any postseason awards, but James, he seemed to have a hell of a day. What do you do with this piece of information from Stockton?
Yeah. Okay. So he's done this a couple of times. He goes to Stockton and he looks like NBA superstar, and that's fine, and it's good that he's getting some burn. He's going down there and he's having success. The next tasks that he has is how do you translate that to the big club? And I don't know what the answer is, but the Kings could have used a player that can score like that off the bench once Malik Monk went in the starting lineup. And there's just again, the speed, the pace, everything is way different. The length, the athleticism is different at the NBA level. So, some of the things he gets away with there, he's not going to get away with it at the NBA, in the NBA. But I definitely feel like, we have to give him more time to develop into what he's going to be. Like missing all that time, it's just, it's not his fault that he had a torn labrum and that the Kings drafted him, number 13 overall, and then had to sit on him for like 7 months. That's, it is what it is. It's part of whether it was in Sacramento or somewhere else, the outcome was still the same. And so, I really feel like he needs a reboot next season, and hopefully he can figure out some stuff. But right now, I think the Kings are better playing a guy like Markelle Fultz, who, again, another player who sat out for 9 months. But you're seeing the difference between someone with NBA experience who sits out 9 months and somebody who has no NBA experience, sits out 7 or 8 months, and then all of a sudden looks like he doesn't know how to play basketball for stretches. And it just really is a tough thing for Devon Carter to go through in his rookie season, especially since, the Kings needed him to be good right away. They needed him to be able to step on the court and play minutes early in his career and develop into something so they could use him this year. And that's just not what happened.
That's the tough part. Like, did you need him to be good, or did you need him to be available? And Kings didn't have either.
No, they needed both, and they got neither. Yeah, so it's a big problem that he has. And I hope that his injuries are behind him, and that we get to see him what he looks like next season with the full summer league, with full training camp and everything else. Like, I think he does have he's got plenty of talent. He's got the length and, the defensive acumen, the rebounding skills to be a good player. But I think lastly, I would say with him is you have to figure out how exactly you fit at the NBA level. And like, very few players get to walk in the door and just be the guy who gets to shoot all of the shots and gets to have the ball in his hands all the time. And that's what happens when Devon Carter goes to Stockton. When he's at the big club, he's never going to get that role unless they clear out a whole bunch of players in front of him and just give him that role. And it's sort of, one of the reasons that Isaiah Thomas goes from like this spectacular 30-point per game guy to out of the league is because no one was going to hand their team to him afterwards. And like, translating what he does into a bench role just wasn't simple. And so, again, I hope Devon Carter figures it out, and you got to give him a little bit more time. And, I think sometimes we're hard on him. But again, I think it's more that we're hard on the front office for making that decision that it is on Devon Carter. He's in the circumstance that, he needs to get better, and he has some flaws to him that he needs to figure out, and, being a pro and all that stuff. But overall, I still think he does have talent.
Yeah, he's a talented guy. I want to see how it translates to the big club. It doesn't have to be this year, but just in general. He's a guy. I think Matt George said it, but a Josh Hart type guy. That would be a good look. But I wish he would have been able to at least provide something this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to be like, I know it's only been 2 games, but we look at Markel Fultz. He's not going crazy. He's not doing anything spectacular, but he's out there and he looks like he at least belongs on an NBA floor. I wish that would have been what we saw from Devon Carter this year, but we've mentioned it a number of different times. I mean, he started behind the 8 ball, so it's a little tough for him to kind of jump in mid-season like that.
Yeah, that, and like, I see a lot of comps. Like, you made a comp there, and someone else mentioned Derek White in the chat, and I think there's a possibility if Devon Carter has the right conversations with the right people that he can become that type of player, the Derek White, or name that NBA player that is sort of like a jack of all trades guy. The problem is that every time I see him, he looks like he wants to be Cam Thomas and not one of those guys. And until he learns that that's not who he's going to be as an NBA player, then he's going to keep, slamming his head into a wall and figuring out that like he's going to spend a lot more time in the G League. And I don't even know, like, at the same time, I don't know what the G League provides for him. If he's just going down there and scoring, what was it today? 36, 39, whatever it was. What was it?
34.
Yeah, 34. Yeah, if that's what he's going to be at the G League level, he just goes down there and starts shooting. That's one thing, but like, he might not ever get that opportunity to be that player at the pro level. He needs to figure out how to be that other player, that role player that, I know nobody wants to be in the NBA, but the quicker you learn how to be a role player and how to be a star in your role, the longer you get to stay in the league.
Can you figure that out in the G League though? Where like you're on the big club, you're going down there, you're probably just by your presence alone the best player on the team. Can you figure that out in the G League?
I think you can, but you have to have really, really honest conversations with the people around you, with your coaching staff, with your front office, with everything else. Like, like Devon Carter was drafted to be the backup to De'Aaron Fox. Like, the idea of him coming into, whether he was healthy or not, was for him to play in year 1, at a maximum like 12 minutes a night. Like, you got to figure out what that means for you as a player. What does it mean to play 6 minutes in the first half and 6 minutes in the second half? And how do you maximize that? How do you be a good player in those minutes and then hopefully earn more? And that's sort of like the basis of how you become a good role player. And so it will probably be difficult for him.
What do you take from G League play? Like, do you look at a guy play well in the G League and feel like it will translate or feel like it never translates? Because I'm stuck sometimes trying to figure out what I see in the G League and what it means. Sometimes I got more of a read of what something I see in college means more than I do in the G League.
I've always had a very strict opinion of the G League that I think it's used very incorrectly, and that I think you should be using the G League to build players. Like, there are very few players that go and play, like, that are signed into the G League to be stars at the next level. So if I'm a franchise, I would try to create as many 3-and-D players as possible. I would try to make specific types of role players at the G League level. I would look for those types of players at the college level, develop them. And like a classic example is Keon Ellis. Like, Keon Ellis is at the pro level is being asked to do exactly what he did at the college level and at the high school level. Shoot the ball from 3, hit your 3-point shots, and play excellent defense. It's a roadmap to get to the NBA. And I think what happens too often is NBA teams draft guys with a ton of high-end potential and then think to themselves, well, if it doesn't work as a high-end potential player, I'll just convert him into this other player, this super role player. And the problem is that no player who, was a 20-something point per game scorer at the college level wants to come in and be a 8-point per game guy at the pro level. And so they really fight that. And like Dante Green is the example I always give of this. Like, Dante Green was just an incredible scorer, and like one of his first summer league games, he scored 40. But then, the idea was, well, if he's not a scorer at the pro level, we can't get him to be consistent at the pro level. We'll just convert him into this, 3-and-D type guy. And that never works. Like, players with that mentality usually always have that mentality.
We'll come back. We'll talk more with James Ham as the Sacramento Kings take on the Utah Jazz. First night of a 4-game road trip here. First game of a 4-game road trip tonight in Utah. So we'll talk to James about that and how important this stretch is for the Sacramento Kings and their playoff hopes. When we do them with Casey return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Get that update. Thanks. Good.
This comment. There's something I've learned. I didn't hear what that was. There's something that I've talked to players about this specifically. Isaac Jones has an opportunity in the G League to put up like ridiculously stupid stats. And that's because for whatever reason, there are no big men in the G League. So, there just aren't. So young, big guys, or even like Scalo BCR, they go down there. Or remember Nemias Keita becoming like, he came in second in MVP balloting and all that stuff. Like, there are so few big men at that level that, you can really put up dominant numbers, rebounding numbers, points numbers, all that stuff. Where you have trouble is that there are a bunch of dudes who are 6'2" to 6'7", and they just all do the same things, and it's hard to separate yourself from the group. So, Tyler, I think Isaiah's going to get. There's not one roster spot. There's 2. The Kings they're at 13 roster spots. I think. Yeah. They're 13. The G League is a cool experiment, but I just feel like I like the idea of a super 2-way, allowing players that are outside of their first 4 years as pros, because once you're outside of your first 4 year, you can't go back and you can't sign a 2-way contract. And even I think it's your first 3 years, but there's like an asterisk for players who were injured. That's the Harry Giles rule. I think that players like Scal, there should be a place for guys like that to sign a super 2-way where they can come back and forth between the pro level and the G League level. Maybe give them one, but make it 3/4 of an NBA salary, like 750 or 800K, and that way you always have a solid veteran on your G League squad to sort of be your leader. And when you need a player like that, you can bring them up. You can stash a third point guard, you can stash an extra big man, whatever, and bring them back and forth. But yeah, the two-way contract, I mean, I totally love the two-way, and I love that they have 3 of them now. I just think that players age out so soon. And then, what do? They either play in the G League. The difference between a two-way contract to the G League level is like $700,000 if you're a two-way player, or like $48,000 if you're just a standard G League player. Like, the discrepancy is like wild. What Isaac Jones makes versus what I don't know what Scal makes. I mean, he literally makes like 12 times what Scal makes.
Did you guys see that documentary on the Dream Team scrimmages with the college?
Oh, that's out. No,
I don't know if it's out. I've seen clips. I don't know if it's out.
I saw the trailer for it and was looking forward to it, but I didn't.
I saw a clip where it says Michael Jordan told Allen Houston he wouldn't get a shot off, and he kept his word.
I have to I have to imagine that video exists, and the only reason we've never seen it is because I'd imagine we'd see some players in the competitive environment without cameras, and like you'd have to mute the sound. Basically, is what I'm saying. Sure, you probably have to mute the sound.
Yeah. They got a clip of Mike locking up Allen Houston I've never seen before, and like an angle that I've never seen, like a traditional somebody's in the stands angle. Not the
one we always see, the big point down angle from the,
or those like NBA films where they're on the court. That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah.
No, not that. This was somebody who's just filming the game.
Oh, this is the college one. I always think of was it the Monte Carlo one where it was those guys versus each other? It was.
That's where Magic was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is I don't know if it deserved a doc. It should have been one of those 15-minute 30 for 30s. Yeah. But yeah, the
10-part doc on a single practice.
I wouldn't be surprised the way people be doing stuff now.
It's funny. Yeah, I agree with this right here. Like Mason Jones, after this season, he can't be on a two-way anymore. So he has to decide between making a couple of $100,000 a year in Europe, trying to get on an NBA roster, or making less than $50,000 a year at the G League.
I don't like that color on Perk at all. Also, Perk is way too big. We got to get Perk healthy. He's way too big. We're coming back, James. Yeah, we are the fashion show. I don't like that color. There's too much happening with Perk right now. This is way too much. I don't like it.
Not a fan.
I don't like it.
I see him. He's trying it though.
It's all right. You put that one away.
Sometimes you try it.
You just put it away. It didn't work.
Break up the monotony.
Yeah. Put it away. Didn't work. It's all right. But we also got to get Perk back on the court, man. He looks a little unhealthy.
Perk. That's a big boy right there.
Yeah,
man.
Perk is a big dude. Perk always been a big dude, but he ain't never been like that's big. Like that's big Perk right there. Big Perk. James Ham with us here, and Hammer, we've got the Kings and the Jazz tonight. You have spoken a couple of times. Matt George did the same thing earlier. We've talked about it here, during the All-Star break, the importance of this stretch coming out of the All-Star game. You had Charlotte, you took care of business there, and the fact is there's only one result that'll work tonight, Ham. This is another one of those games where you've got to go out and you've got to beat up on a bad basketball team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if somehow they were to lose this game, we might as well just play taps the entire show tomorrow. They just don't have
make planning easy.
Yeah,
no, Taps the song.
Oh, I'm thinking of a movie. I ain't never heard of the song.
Not Taps.
You've heard the song.
Taps is a bugle that they play at funerals.
I didn't know it was referred to as a bugle.
Well, taps is played on the bugle.
I'm pretty sure that's Star Wars.
That's pretty. That's when Vader walks into any room.
Star Wars has that, but they played that. They play that at funerals, don't they?
No,
I don't know. I don't know what funerals you go
Imagine
to.
them bringing the casket down and the Darth Vader's theme song.
I swear to
theme
you.
song starts playing.
When Kyle Madsen dies, that's
Yeah.
what he's gonna want.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, you guys have your list of movies that I'm supposed to watch. You guys need to watch some of the other movies. Yeah, no, Taps is it's just like what you hear when they're playing like a 21 gun salute and they're at a funeral. And it's played on a bugle typically. So
But
anyway,
that's where we will be when if the Kings lose tonight.
yes,
That or
yes.
the Darth Vader theme, whichever Kenny wants.
I can't
we'll play
believe you
that.
guys never heard that before.
They're saying Kenny's
No,
song.
we've heard it. It's the Star
No,
Wars
it's not
theme.
the Star Wars theme.
They're saying
Okay.
Kenny's song is called the Imperial Death March.
So
It's
like,
yes,
okay,
it's
no, it's no, that's the Star Wars theme.
No, what I'm saying is I guess you guys haven't heard is I know the Star Wars theme. It sounds similar, but I've heard something different.
It's not the Star Wars theme. It's the music they play every single time that Darth Vader walks in the room. That's what you just did. So, okay. So you remember I'm going to get you sucker, right? You remember the guy had a theme band?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Basically what you played, Kenny, is his theme band music when he walks into a room. That's what you played. That's not Taps. So-
No, all right.
What song are you talking about then?
Well, Kyle in the chat, he knows the song I'm talking about. He said I'm just singing it wrong, but yeah, yes.
Well, that doesn't
Okay.
help. That helps nothing.
I don't know what it's called. I don't have it on my playlist. I just heard it at funerals when people are talking about death. I don't know what it's called.
Oh my gosh. This is
don't
why
know
I love
what to
coming
do.
on this show. Sometimes
I
I
don't
get
know.
made fun of. Sometimes Kenny gets made in fun of. Damien doesn't usually get made in fun of, but everyone
We're
else.
still talking about Gregory. I guess we're still talking about Gregory Hines. Maybe I don't
that's
know.
a movie, not a song.
Well, that's what you. All right. Let's move along.
What is happening?
I don't even know what my point was. Lose. Okay, don't lose to the Jazz. That's the point.
Don't lose. Don't lose. Yeah, this is a big one, man. Again, it's not big because if the Kings lose this game, it just puts their entire season in the same vein that it has been for the last couple of weeks, right? Like up and down and crazy and chaotic and the panic and all that stuff. But realistically, this is an opportunity for the Kings to go out and show that they are the team that just absolutely thumped Charlotte, that they can learn, that they can take a team serious that is literally walking in tonight without like half of their starters. All of their top 3 scorers are sitting. They're not injured from what I can tell. I mean, they might have injury designations, but these guys are just sitting. And, the NBA, anytime a star level player wants to tank on a big team because it might be on TNT, they go all crazy and somebody gets fined. But then you have a team like the Utah Jazz that is out there just completely tanking. Like nobody's paying any attention to the fact that they're sitting their best 3 players and just ignoring it. Like, oh, it's okay. Cooper Flag's out there and they might have a shot at him. So that's what they're playing tonight. And if you can't take a team like this seriously, walk in and treat them like the team that they are tonight, which is totally undermanned and a bunch of players who they're playing out of their position because they're not standard, NBA starters. If you can't take them serious and really, turn the screws and pull away and have another big win, then, there are going to be concerns. Like a 3-point win tonight, we can talk about winning ugly, winning pretty, all that stuff. It would be really disappointing because I would start thinking of this team a lot more like I did a week and a half ago when they lost to the Pelicans. And this team isn't even as good as the Pelicans. At least the Pelicans ran a couple of really good NBA players out there who ended up busting you up.
I don't even know like what players they're running out there. They're running out oh man, my man, the rookie from USC. Or from Ohio State. He's a second-year player. They got a bunch of guys where I know their name, but they shouldn't be hanging with the Sacramento Kings who have something to play for and something to something to trying to pursue. Isaiah Collier is the guy from USC I was thinking about. Sensabaugh is the guy from Ohio State.
Bryce Sensabaugh and Johnny Juzang is starting.
Juzang, yeah.
Yeah, and then Filipowski starting. Yeah, it's a
The,
mess.
the scary thing about this, and once again, they shouldn't lose, is these guys are going to go out there and they're going to be some tryhards. They're going to go out there. They're going to play. They're going to play tough. They're going to play physical. This is an opportunity for them, and they're going to try and take advantage of it. They know there's nobody coming into the game behind them, so they can shoot it with confidence and relax and play tough, and don't give them any reason to feel good about themselves. Like try to jump on these guys early is what you do with a group like this.
No, I totally agree. I mean, even like their fourth and fifth best scorers, Keontae George and Jordan Clarkson, they're coming off the bench. I mean, that's what Utah's doing right now. So like their top 5 starters are either out or coming off the bench. Yeah, this is a game where like, look, the Kings need practice time, right? And they don't just need practice time where they're running through the motions or they're beating up on some G League guys or they're playing against like or they're doing like walkthrough stuff. They need to actually go out and use this game. Not only do you want to beat this team, but you also want to beat this team playing the right way, beat this team getting better in your play sets, maybe be able to add 1 or 2 wrinkles to your offense and your defense because the team isn't as good and you're able to add some ingredients during the game. These are things that I think the Kings should be looking at tonight. And, I would be surprised if the Kings didn't win by 15 or 20 points. It's just not a good team. And it's a team that has no interest in winning any games at all after the All-Star break.
The another important component to this Hammer is we were wrapped up in the hype around the Lakers and the Mavericks last night, talking a lot about Kyrie Irving today, Luka Doncic, all of that. The Mavericks lost. The Kings, they've got the ability to continue to move up these kind of, maybe not playoff rankings, but kind of these play-in rankings. We'll see what happens with the Clippers and the Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors moving forward, but they do have a chance to kind of not only move up in the 7, 8, 9, 10 category, but create some separation in the 11, 12, 13 category. You had San Antonio lose again. You had Phoenix lose again. Like these games, like it's crazy, Hammer, with 20-something games left, every single game seems to hold a ton of importance for the Sacramento Kings getting to this playoff destination.
No, I totally agree. I mean, right now, what are they 2.5 games up on Phoenix for who's the 11?
Yep.
They're 4.5 games up on both the Blazers and the Spurs.
That's right.
And then they come into tonight only a game behind Dallas, and they're tied in the loss column with Dallas. And we're going to start focusing a lot more on the loss column because that's how you track, because teams can play way more games than other teams. There comes a point where you run out of games that you can win as well. But for right now, I think the loss column is where you can really focus. And once you get past this game, the Kings right now have the second most difficult schedule in the NBA remaining, right? And then once you get past this game, it's going to get even worse. Like your win percentage against is going to jump over 540. Right now, Phoenix has the worst strength of schedule remaining at like 544, and the Kings are way up there as well. But after this game, because you're taking a 14-win team off your schedule, it's just going to get more difficult. And so, like, you have to get wins where they're just sitting there waiting for you. And I think Kyle did a good job of breaking this down earlier on the Insiders. He said if you can win the 5 games against sub 500 teams that you're supposed to beat, and it's tonight's game, they still have another against Charlotte. They have one against Washington. They've got another one against the Blazers. They have like 5 really winnable games. If you can win all 5 of those, and then you can just go 500 in your other games, that gets you an opportunity to get to like 44, 45 wins. And then if you can win a couple more, if you can go in the other games, you have 20 games outside of that. If you can go something like 11-9, now you actually have an opportunity to move up the rankings, to move up to possibly fight for that 6th seed in the playoffs, or maybe even the 7th spot where you would get a home play-in game to start the whole festivities. So there's definitely some advantages here to taking care of business against bad teams.
Yeah, man. You go against teams like this, especially at this point in the season when things get a little wonky and every game means something. And we discovered this a couple years ago. Like, we had fun with it because the Kings actually play well, but the intensity does ratchet up after the All-Star break. People can see the finish line and they're starting to maneuver. And when you have a game against a team like the Jazz, you have to take advantage. Is there somebody specifically that you want to see start to maybe get their groove a little bit with a game like tonight going into as they start a tougher stretch moving forward? Me personally, to answer that question before you, I want to see Sabonis like kind of get in the groove, use this opportunity against the Jazz to start, bringing those numbers back up a little bit. Is there anybody else on that team that you want to see kind of use this as a little bit of a springboard, maybe the way Zach LaVine did the other day?
Yeah, to be honest with you, we talked about this earlier, and one of my keys to the game was let Sabonis eat. Sabonis is averaging 16 points a game. His assist numbers are down around 5.3. His rebound numbers have stayed consistent, but over the last 11 games, he's at 16 points per game. His 3-point percentage is down because he's not shooting in rhythm. His 2-point field goal percentage is down as well. He just looks like a player who's a little bit lost and trying to figure out how to be a good teammate, like everybody else seems to be. And I think they did a really nice job of running the ball through him nonstop in the previous game. And I need to see more of that. Again, I don't like that he finished with 7 points and seven assists and 10 rebounds. He needed more opportunity. I do like the fact he only had to play 25, 26 minutes because you thumped a team. But Sabonis needs to be the guy who's getting to the basket. I know Doug said the other night he wants 53 pointers per game. And that's crazy. 53s a game is absolutely crazy. Now, it's what the Boston Celtics do. And it works for them, but they also have elite players at multiple positions. I think the Kings can get well above 40, but I think it will all be predicated on whether or not they can get the two-man game going with Sabonis, whether they can play through him and let him orchestrate the offense at the top of the key. And that's mainly because I don't think they have, with Fox gone, they only have one true, like, break the defense down, get to the key and kick guy, and that's Malik. And even that's not really his specialty. His specialty is getting in the pick and roll and getting to the basket. So if they're going to get the paint touches and the spray threes that they're always asking for, it's got to be with Domantas Sabonis, sort of orchestrating the whole thing.
You don't think LaVine can do it?
No, like, to be honest with you, what we saw the other night from LaVine, he can have more than 2 assists, but I was perfectly fine with the player he was on the court. Like,
Okay.
you fit him into a role. You took a bunch of things off his plate, which I think were weighing him down and making him think too much. I think he was trying to be too much of a good teammate. I think he was trying to set up guys too often. And by being too unselfish, I think it was actually confusing him and getting him into a bad space. I know he had the game where he had 32 points and 10 assists, but he's more of a 27 point, like 4 assist guy. And that's okay. The Kings need that guy, but they also need Monk to get his assist numbers up, and they need to run the ball through Domas. Again, I like taking the ball out of Zach LaVine's hands, letting him move around without, having to worry about where the offense is setting up and who's setting a screen where, and just have him be a lot more of a catch and shoot guy, and then a guy who gets downhill and a guy who gets out in transition. And I really like the role he settled into in that game. And, the 42 points is great, but, he had 24 going to the fourth. And, he had 20, I think he had 22 in the first half. Like, he was playing within the flow of the offense. And I'll say that for DeMar too. I think DeMar had a lot more in the flow of the offense moments, either that game or the game before that too. I thought DeMar was more like in the flow of the offense. So they're starting to get some of their play sets down, and I think it's starting to look more like a cohesive unit on the court.
Shout out to Delivery Joe, the only adult that listens to this show or even works on this show outside of me. He says, Casey, you're thinking of Coppin's Funeral March, which is also what The Undertaker's theme is based on. Thank you, Delivery Joe. At least there's some maturity going on in this show somewhere.
So 2 things. You didn't even know what the hell you were talking about. Also, run the clip back. You literally beat it out. The
'Cause-
pause. The
Hey.
well, that's fine. You
Flag.
you literally hit the beat for the
No,
the Star Wars
On
joint.
Coppin's funeral watch,
I don't even know what that is.
It goes down, and on Star Wars it goes dun 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 dun, like it keeps going up.
And what did you do?
It might have sounded like that, but it was
Huh?
like dun 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 dun. That's Coppin's. Star Wars is.
Did he attach a link to this? All
All
right, man.
It
This is
goes up.
broken the show.
No, this is absurd. Like this is ridiculous.
That's Star Wars.
It's not Star Wars. It is from Star Wars, but that's Vader walking in the room.
Yeah, that's Star Wars. And if you play, March, it's a little.
You're saying
heavier.
you're saying Coppins?
It's Coppins or Choppins. CHOPIN.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that Chopin?
It's a little lower? It's a little slower, and I don't even know if there's horns. Like you hear horns in Star Wars. There's a difference. I know the two. But shout out to Delivery Joe, the only adult in the room today.
No, literally the entire chat. And where's the Undertaker's?
This is Taps, just so you know.
No, you got
No,
it. You got it, Dave.
no,
You
wait.
got it.
No, you hit pause. You hit pause on yours. You hit pause on yours.
Okay.
Okay, I hear a little Undertaker in here. Oh, I hear a lot of Undertaker in here. This is what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you see it's slower and there's no the horns aren't as pronounced as Star Wars. It's a clear difference.
True love when funerals, Undertaker, and Darth Vader mix.
No, this is 100% the Undertaker thing.
Yeah, the Undertaker definitely, yeah.
Okay, dude.
And I do
whatever.
have this on my playlist. I'm sorry, I forgot.
So you just bump
realize.
funeral music as you're hitting a little hitting a little chest press. Let me listen to the death march here. What is it? This show sucks. It all started with your stupid ass take on Club Soda.
Oh no, sorry. Okay, yeah, my
And
bad.
then
You're the
this-
one who likes
And
Club
then,
Soda.
and then this guy over here. No, that wasn't The Rock. That was Dwayne. This show has gone to hell.
You just no. You just named two right takes. You're wrong. You're wrong.
It took 1,100 episodes, but this show now sucks because we do stuff like this.
The idea of Kenny just kind of driving down the freeway, going 80 miles an hour, listening to the Death March, windows down, is crazy.
Wild.
Remember in Love Jones when Bill Bellamy's car was a hearse?
Yes. Oh my God.
Club Soda. That was Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, that was Dwayne.
Well, and now we bump funeral music. So this is what we do.
Hey, what did he say? He said, I love playing the role of the final boss. Sir,
Okay,
stop.
Shut up,
Shut up,
Dwayne.
yeah, be quiet, nerd.
Shut up, Dwayne. Nobody wants to hear that. What are we doing? You wrestling at WrestleMania or not?
We've lost our way.
Oh man, Kings need to win though. We'll be playing all the music.
Zabo,
tomorrow
cut
if they
all
lose.
of these clips.
If they
Every
lose,
single
we
one
playing
of them.
all the music because they can't be losing this game. Come on now, come on, y'all can't lose.
I stand by my Morton suck takes, by the way,
that
Scooter.
was-
I
that
stand
was
by that.
completely.
James,
uncalled
you
for and
eat good
unwarranted.
food. Admit Morton's is overrated and it sucks.
Yeah, I mean Morton's is expensive and it's a little overrated. But I mean, if you want a good steak, I guess. Yeah. I mean, they do have.
Oh,
a
you
nice
don't get it
steak.
at
James is not on your side. Yeah, no,
James,
James, no, you're
No,
right.
you don't get it at Morton's. You don't get it
not
at
on your
steak
side.
at
Yeah, no.
Morton's.
It's completely terrible.
You're trying to push that forward. James is not on your side.
Their happy hour is nice. I would say that if I'm gonna get a steak, it's probably not the highest on my list.
Cajun ribeye is bomb.
You know what?
Wow.
Shout out Roots Chris too, because you caught a drive by as well in that whole situation.
Yeah.
Roost Chris worse than Morton's.
Nah, what's the tomahawk? Come on, man. Stop.
Plate
Wow.
scissors or
Tomahawk,
whatever.
or-
Come on, it's cool.
That's one of the best steaks I've ever had in my life, and I've had a lot of steaks. That one was bomb. The tomahawk went crazy.
Where are you getting a steak from, James?
I love coming on with you guys. Where would I don't know. To be honest, I don't eat a ton of steak. I don't know. If I had to choose my spot, I don't know.
Just go to Morton's.
You know what? The chat house is asking for it. Jerry Jones, what do you think about
Oh,
Morton's?
no one asked for this.
All this blasphemy that's going on when Damien doesn't like Morton's. It's ironic because I was at Morton's last night and that Cajun ribeye was just so good. And it reminded me, I want to win a Super Bowl so bad. And Kenny, he knows Chopin's funeral music like nobody's business.
Or Chopin, one way or the other.
Who knows? I don't know.
Oh, man.
You got 45 more seconds to kill.
Oh my god!
Well, I'm surprised it's the shortest Jerry Jones impression he's ever done.
I know, Kenny. We kind of need you to bring
We
it home, man.
got 2 minutes to kill, and he does the shortest Jerry Jones impression ever.
Well, tomorrow
No,
we're looking
Oh no,
Mike
it's over.
Tyson
Oh, it's too late.
against that sumo wrestler, and
Just forget
I
it.
need to sign that sumo
Just
wrestler
forget it.
because Mike couldn't get by him.
And if you're gonna do Jerry Jones, you probably should have the Darth Vader theme music playing while you do
Oh,
it.
that's a good point. Normally, I say we appreciate you for being with us. Today, I'll just say I'm sorry. I'm sorry for this entire show, particularly these last few minutes. James will have a much more professional show beginning at 10 a.m. With the Insiders and Kyle Madsen tomorrow here on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320.
Vamos Kings, like the beam.